What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday. Glad to have everybody along. Hope everyone had a fantastic Christmas weekend. The Titans lost their fifth straight, but after that, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, hope you got some great time to relax and enjoy family and friends. But we are back at it with a busy week here to wrap up 2022 as the Titans are back on the practice field and have a big week as they host the Dallas Cowboys just in 2 days from now. With a game that really doesn't, we'll talk about later on how much this game means, but the Titans have lost 5 in a row, and Mike Vrabel is looking for solutions, and he thinks he has one on how the Titans can dig themselves out of this hole and have an opportunity to get to the playoffs with a Week 18 matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Zach and I are here for a big Tuesday show. Going to talk about Mike Vrabel's solution to get out of this hole where they have lost 5 games for the first time in a row for the first time since 2015. We'll get a couple Mike Vrabel videos, one of them from that post-game press conference after the loss to the Texans, and then another one from yesterday once he met with the media post-Christmas. And then we'll talk about Malik Willis, because Malik Willis didn't exactly play great in his third career start on Saturday, but then he had some comments after the game that were controversial from Titans fans and media around as well. So we'll talk about the Malik Willis post-game press conference approach to his attitude there before we play trivia, because it is a Tuesday. We had Monday morning off from the show, but we'll get our trivia back and rolling. We've got 5 questions, 4 sports, 1 non-sports. So Zach, welcome and hope you had a great Christmas weekend.
Yeah, broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you covered there. We will also tweet out segment by segment on our Twitter, our YouTube links, so you can check us out there at A to Z Sports. Follow us at A to Z Sports. That's at ATOZ Sports. We got you locked in, whether it's coverage of the Titans. You got the Vol Bowl game coming up in the Orange Bowl against Clemson. So we'll have tons of content rolling out. Follow us at A to Z Sports there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, go ahead and like this video. That would help us out. We're trying to get and grow more Titans fans within our community. So go ahead and subscribe on our YouTube page and on Facebook. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing on this show. Go ahead and share the show around. More people are going to be piling in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. As you guys do, please share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends newsfeed. So let's get this thing started on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media, as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Make sure you follow us along on Twitter, where we send out links segment by segment for the show. Also Instagram and TikTok. But we got to thank our sponsors, because they make it happen for us and they help out you guys, like Wilson County Hyundai. Check them out and make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, better coverage, rates, and service. Learn more about a health plan for you, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call them for a free case consultation, 800-800-4600 for Hughes and Coleman. So, Zach, I hope everybody's Christmas was better than the Titans' Christmas Eve, where they were unable to get any points there at the end of that game, losing to the Texans, the 5th consecutive loss. 19-14 was that final score. The Titans now drop to 7-8 on the season after the 5 straight losses. And there's a lot to talk about leading up to this Cowboys game and leading up to the win and in Jags game that will be Week 18. But let's go to Mike Vrabel's post-game press conference from Saturday, when Jim Wyatt of the Tennessee Titans website asked Mike Vrabel after the game if this 5-game losing streak has been the hardest stretch of his career as the Titans head coach.
I mean, I think that's part of the job. I think that's part of this obligation to the football team, is to try to be as honest as you can with them. Try to recognize the difference between, a guy making a mistake. You hear, man, I hate losing. I hate losing too. So maybe we should love preparing and love focusing before the game and doing as much as we possibly can so that we don't make mistakes in critical times or mental errors or things that could be avoided. As far as, it's part of the job. It's rewarding watching guys succeed. That's why I do this, and watching them develop and improve. But the losses, certainly hurt.
When you say maybe we should love preparing and doing the things before the game, are you saying that you may not have 100% buy-in?
Well, it's not the buy-in. It's just, how much are we doing outside of the time that we're at the facility? I don't know. Those are questions that, if they just, if you as a professional athlete just work 8 to 4 or 8 to 4:30, and I don't know how much you get out of it. Maybe God gifted you with some really, really cool talents. We just have to, all do a little bit more. And that's with me and the preparation, and that's with the coaches and the players, and, just a little bit more of everything.
The end of that from Vrabel, it was kind of meandering through his emotions. You could see there after Jim Wyatt asked him about, the hardest point of your head coaching career, and then getting to the point where if guys are just putting in, their 8 to 4 p.m. efforts, that's not enough. Zach, what'd you think about that comment?
I think he's absolutely correct. I love that. That honestly was my favorite Vrabel video of all season. We've probably played 100 plus. I do think this is the hardest time in his career, because when you start as a head coach, you're trying to figure it out, granted that, but you're working with John Robinson, you're building a roster, you're having some grace, you go out and you make the decision to trade for Ryan Tannehill and replace Marcus Mariota, you find some success, you're the number 1 seed in the AFC a year ago, and then this thing has, the wheels have fallen off, essentially. Now, they're trying to put him back on to at least finish some sort of race this year, but I think this is all encompassing of a sports team, of a company, of everything. You got to do more. And if you're not willing to put in the extra effort and go the extra mile and do the extra work and do the things that people don't see, get up early and stay late, work on weekends, it doesn't matter. You are going to get more out of it. It is like, that is a life lesson. That is the easiest life lesson that you could have. And now you take it to football terms. And if you don't have the talent, and this has been, apparent, if you don't have the talent that is adequate enough to get you to where you are, and he mentioned it, right? If you maybe have the God-gifted ability, this team does not have the God-gifted ability. And even if they did, they're hurt, right? So that ability is now lessened because your best player on defense, Jeff Simmons, has an ankle. Danico Autry's been dealing with injury. Bud Dupree has been dealing with 2 hips. Your back half of your secondary has been hurt. Harold Landry hasn't even played a single snap all season. That's just the defense. I haven't even gotten to the less talent on the offensive side of the football. You've got to do more. This is lunch pail USA. And I think that's the premise of most coaches and most bosses and most anything. Just work as hard as you effing can to make up for anything, any of your deficiencies, because everybody has deficiencies, but you hurt your team when you're not putting in from 100%. I preach it 100%. It drives me mad when people only give 80% or 75% or 90%. And it's really hard to find those individuals that give 100%. I believe Mike Vrabel gives 100%. That's why he's the reigning coach of the year. I don't think his team is giving 100% based on that clip.
Well, and I think we're seeing why Mike Vrabel was as good of a player as he was too, right? Because Mike Vrabel was the type of player who might have not been the most talented guy. He was not a first round pick talent. he was not a day one starter as an NFL player. He was a guy who worked his way through a bunch of different roles and got to be and outworked so many people to have a 15-year career in the NFL where he caught touchdowns and then also stopped a lot of touchdowns from being scored. And I think that's that mentality has made him a good football coach as well. So, I do think it's very interesting. Of a lot of comments came in as we were playing that video from Mike Vrabel, and then throughout your reaction to it, Zach. And I did see, Darren says he completely agrees with you, Zach. Orlando says 1000% correct. Darren talks about his willingness to stay late at his job. And I did see a comment from John. Is Vrabel blaming the players? Because that answer could go both ways, right? Like that could also be valid. Those comments from Vrabel could also be directed towards coaches who need to put in the extra work, and players, anybody in that facility that has anything to do with the product on the football field. That comment from Vrabel could be relevant to. So, John, we're going to go ahead and play this clarification from Mike Vrabel when Titans media had an opportunity to follow up with him yesterday on Monday about his 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. type of comments. So here was Mike Vrabel from Monday.
Were you talking to some specific guys, or were you talking kind of thematically about everybody giving?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I guess I just have to be more careful with how I choose my words. I just was trying to say that we all need to, to say less and just try to start doing more right now, and just, studying more, communicating more, asking more questions, coaching better, explaining, teaching better, so that players can come back with questions and say, hey, I saw this. How would we, play that? Or, I wasn't, I'm not spreading a message to the media that I haven't said to the players at any point in time. It's not how I want to coach. So that's all that was. That was just just explaining it. I think, again, building off that, how much better can we get physically at this point in the season? Where can we try to find an edge to help us win?
So to answer John's question, no, it didn't sound like he was directing it at just the players or just specific players. The coaches were involved in that as well. And so Mr. Jones comments and says the shut up and dribble line of say less and do more when it comes to this week. And, Rob says that Vrabel looks so defeated, and Mitchell says that Vrabel sounds so pathetic and beat down, coming in from Rob. So there's a lot of emotion. You can tell that this season has taken a toll on Mike Vrabel because of the 5-game losing streak. Zach, did you have anything to add on the second clarification before we get to our main question?
Well, I agree with Bama Brad. The clarification was damage control, right? But I believe the first clip. I believe you say what you mean and you mean what you say. I believe that Mike Vrabel meant every word of that first clip, talking about guys need to get in there and work harder. You've got to outwork your opponent if you don't have the luxury of having A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the possible MVP, and Jalen Hurts, and a good defense. You have to outwork them, and you're going to have to outwork the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night, who are much more talented than the Tennessee Titans. These are just straight facts, homie. And then you get into this point in the season, look, defeated. I don't want to say that the Mike Vrabel and the Titans team is defeated, because the season's not over. I think that they have gone through a extreme rough patch. I do think they are mentally weak as of now. I'd like to, at a later date, maybe tomorrow, see if you've turned the corner on that after they lost to the worst team in the NFL. And I think that this Titans team, after Mike Vrabel's boss has gotten fired, his offensive coordinator got a DUI and he had to deal with that, and his quarterback is out for the foreseeable future. His defense and offense has been, his defense is decimated with injuries. His offense is just not very good. His offensive line is scotch taped together, and I'm trying to find something less reliable than scotch tape. And so I'm still searching for that. Maybe I'll find that before Thursday night's game. And I do think that this team is in a state of disarray. But to say all of that, it's all still in front of them. They still can make the playoffs. They still can have this season a success, quote unquote, at the stage of where they are right now. But to do that, you're going to have to outwork your opponent. And I think that's what his battle cry is publicly at the podium.
Man, I feel like John was on our pre-show call because John has just brought up a couple comments to get us to the next conversation because he said, I agree with the hard work, but they've been handicapped on offense for 2 years. You can't outwork bad play calling, and the team not working hard is a reflection on the coaching staff. So John bringing the heat today on Facebook there. So let's get to this question, Zach, that we had set up. Do you believe the Titans can work their way into the playoffs? Do you believe the Titans can work their way into the playoffs? Kind of going to that, they have to outwork everybody. They have to work harder, prep harder, do more work throughout the week. Do you think the Titans can outwork or work their way into the playoffs? But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to go to, who to trust, and who can get you back to health and full recovery. And the folks at the Bone and Joint Institute can absolutely do that. They've got over a dozen physicians and specialists there who specialize in any type of injury that you could possibly have happen to you, whether it's playing rec sports, just life in general. It's been icy and snowy, slipping and falling out there in the conditions, and you get hurt, you need the Bone and Joint Institute. Oh, your son or daughter playing youth sports gets hurt, they got the specialist there as well with sports orthopedics. So check them out in Franklin. They do it better than anybody else in the region. The region means the mid-state, Southern Kentucky, Northern Alabama. Check them out, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. Use the promo code ATOZ Sports. We love BetMGM, and we love BetMGM for multiple reasons. But one of them is because they have a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000 for new users. If you have not downloaded the BetMGM app, it's about to be bowl season and NFL playoffs. This is a good time to sign up. Use the promo code ATOZ Sports, all one word. No spaces in the promo code tab. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 for new users. Download the app today.
All right, so the question we're throwing out there to you guys, and you can answer it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We'll read your comments. Do you believe the Titans can work their way into the playoffs? Just like Mike Vrabel saying, you got to have more. Eddie says yes. Stephen King is a hard no. Tighten Up says no. David Allen says, absolutely. The Jags are not the 03 Patriots. The 03 Patriots, Mike Vrabel on the roster winning the Super Bowl. So an absolutely from David there. Marcus Walker says no. Mitchell says not a chance. Andre says no. The Titans need to work their way to that number 10 or 11 pick. We might talk about that some tomorrow. Let's see. Different Steven says, yes, if not, then Vrabel is gone. I don't think Mike Vrabel is going anywhere. His seat is very cushy.
Well, look,
right now.
Crazier things have happened. I think, and again, I wasn't on the show, but I was talking to Sam. You didn't think John Robinson was going anywhere the day before he got fired.
Yeah, but
I just state that because
yes, but
these are strong statements.
But I think even at that point, we knew that John Robinson would probably be the first to go when it came to him or Vrabel.
But you didn't think.
But we didn't expect it to happen at that point. But you had a feeling that J-Rob's job security was not as strong as Vrabel's. And I think with the firing of John Robinson, it just made Mike Vrabel's even stronger. That's just my thought. Scott says the doubts the Titans can work their way into the playoffs. Sheila John says yes. Lot says they can, but will they is the question. And fair, using the words there. Grim Jim says not at all, just lip service at that point. Alex says they can any given day, just will be tough. Rob says they can work their way into the playoffs, but they won't. So he doesn't think that they will do the extra work there, Rob. Big Steve says big nope. Healthy, 50%. Wilbur says no, you can't outwork Todd Downing being a bad play caller. Will Dodson says no, not with the coaching staff. Corey says sure. Caleb says no, Downing has to call a decent game in week 18, and the Titans aren't talented enough to just work. need some good game management. So, work goes to the players and the roster. It goes to the coaching staff, including Todd Downing. Zach, do you believe the Titans can work their way into the playoffs, as Mike Vrabel's alluding to?
Well, they worked their way into the number 1 seed last year once Derrick Henry went down.
Yeah.
So I think that is very, very telling. The best quality about Mike Vrabel as a head coach is that he gets every ounce of his players, right? He is doing more with less. That's been his thing. And what we've just been saying, and that's, I think, one of the reasons why John Robinson was fired, is imagine if he had more. Imagine if he had better players, what he could get out of those guys, where this team would be. And now, so that's the positive side of things. The negative spin is you've got a rookie quarterback that's not very good and a bad play caller. And offense is going to put points on the board, and you've got to score more points than the other team, right? That's the concept of football. Can. That's the other key word.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they can. I think the Titans can outwork. You're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're not world beaters. They're playing good football, but they're not the Philadelphia Eagles. They're not the Dallas Cowboys. They're not the 49ers, who are playing really good football with a backup quarterback. They've got a stellar defense. They're not the Chiefs or the Bills or the Bengals. So, yes, they can. And I think Mike Vrabel, that is the perfect guy to do it. Now, after that, I don't think anything can happen. I don't think that they can maybe make it to the divisional game. But any given Sunday, we've always talked about that, in Jacksonville, Malik, I think this is the hardest can that we've ever had because of Downing and Malik Willis. Malik Willis is just not there. He is far from whatever there is. He just doesn't have the NFL skill set at this time. I don't know if he'll ever have it.
Well, and the thing is, like, he wasn't expected to have it this year.
No.
Right? Yeah, and that's what I want to continue to be clear is Malik Willis was not supposed to be ready to win NFL games as the starter in his rookie season.
But this was the situation at hand.
Yeah, I know, but it was never the plan to have Malik Willis carry this team to a playoff berth, which is basically what the Titans are doing. And the Titans, Mike Vrabel talked about this too yesterday, that the reason why Ryan Tannehill is not on injured reserve is because he's doing everything he possibly can to get ready for Week 18. And, Paul Kalarski said very likely that he's done for the season. Then Adam Schefter over the weekend said that Ryan Tannehill is definitely out for the rest of the season and not likely to make it for a playoff potential game. But the Titans are keeping Ryan Tannehill active to see what they can possibly do, to see if Ryan Tannehill can do something in Week 18 to get to the playoffs.
Well, and can they? Yes, they can. Everything is set up for them to be able to. I'll take one of PK's words. Very unlikely, right? That's like, will they? Very unlikely. But can they? Yes. I think look, defenders are coming back. Danico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons are still there. Bud Dupree is still there. Kevin Byard is still there. You get Zach Cunningham back.
He hurt his elbow again.
So he got re-injured. And David Long could be back.
The David Long thing, because I did.
He's not going to come back Thursday, but
Vrabel
could he come back a week from Sunday?
Yeah, Vrabel said David Long and Kyle Phillips are, quote, not an option this week for the Cowboys game, which is just 2 days from now. But there was media members that mentioned that they saw David Long in the locker room yesterday. And typically you see the player that's on IR in the locker room about a week before the player is back. And so the hope is the player being visible, David Long Jr. being seen on a Monday/Wednesday in the locker room means that maybe David Long Jr. could be back for Week 18 in Jacksonville.
I think that unfortunately this is going to come down to what happened in Vrabel's first season as head coach. His quarterback is going to be iffy on whether he can play. Now, Ryan Tannehill is about 50,000 times tougher than Marcus Mariota of what we've seen. And I do believe that the grit and want of Ryan Tannehill for this team and for himself is going to want to be out there. But I don't know. You talk about physically unable to perform. My gut is that Ryan Tannehill at that juncture, a win and get in scenario in week 18, will be physically unable to perform because of that ankle.
Yeah.
And you'll have to ride with Downing and Malik Willis. And that's where it's very likely that they'll come up short.
Yeah. So, Zach, your answer to the question was yes, they can, but you don't really. The question is, do you believe the Titans can work? So you do believe they can?
Yeah, they've done it before. They did it last year when Derrick Henry went down. If we would have polled everybody to say, can the Titans get the number 1 seed in the AFC still without Derrick Henry? I don't think we would have had a yes in the chat, right? But they did. So that tells me that they can. That's why my answer is the way my answer is.
All right. My answer is going to be no. They cannot. And you gave 2 reasons why you're not too sure, 2 reasons why it's going to be tough for the Titans. I'm going to add a third. But first, tell us all about Farm Bureau health plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your new health plan. I got my health plan at the beginning of 2022. We're almost to 2023. I'm riding over, baby. I'm going right into 2023 with Farm Bureau health plans. I love my plan that much. They help me on a ton of different fronts. Health, dental, vision, 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. FBHP.com/ATOZ, FBHP.com/ATOZ, right there on the screen. Quick health assessment. They give you a quote. You can switch. Anybody can switch, and they've got your perfect plan for your perfect situation. That's FBHP.com/A-to-Z.
Also, download the BetMGM app. Use our code ATOZ Sports. That gives you a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000. Zach, man, my football season has been phenomenal so far with BetMGM, and it's coming down the last couple of weeks for pro football. So it's a couple of opportunities for you to take advantage of our code ATOZ Sports. When you sign up for the BetMGM app, plug in that code ATOZ Sports. You make your first deposit, and your first bet on pro football is risk-free up to $1,000. That means you get a couple opportunities if you miss it to get that cash roll started. So visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions, subject to qualification, eligibility requirements. Rewards issued with knowledgeable for bets. Credit for bets expires 7 days. For public game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So asking the question, and a lot of you guys have answered, do you believe the Titans can work their way into the playoffs based off of Mike Vrabel saying you got to do more? Say less, do more this week. Spend more time in the film room. Prep more. Work on your bodies more. Try to do everything there. Anything you can possibly do to get to the playoffs. So, Zach, you said the Titans can. You believe the Titans can, but you have 2 things that do create doubt, right? It's Todd Downing as a play caller and Malik Willis as the quarterback that we expect to play week 18 in Jacksonville. Those are your 2 doubtful type of situations. I'm adding a third. It's the offensive line. And it's the fact that all 3 of those things are on one side of the football. It's Todd Downing's calling the plays to a rookie quarterback who is not ready and was not expected to be ready at this point, behind 5 guys collectively who are not supposed to be also playing together. Like, Dennis Daly is as bad as it gets as an offensive lineman. We've been over that so many times. Aaron Brewer, Aaron Brewer is the exact example of, can you outwork somebody to be successful? And the answer is yes, to an extent. And Aaron Brewer at 285 pounds, he's actually listed at 295. I don't necessarily believe it, but he can only outwork the opponent to an extent before he just gets overpowered every 4th pass snap. And then you've got Corey Levin at center, and then Jordan Ruse at right guard and NPF at right tackle / LaRaven Clark, who played the second half at right tackle because NPF had an ankle injury. You've got those 5 or 6 guys out there with Malik Willis, with Todd Downing. I don't think they can. Because what type of extra work can that offensive line put together can Malik Willis put together and Todd Downing? Like, if there's one of the three that I feel most confident in that could put in more work to actually get better results, of the three, I only trust in Malik Willis to show some extra growth. Todd Downings is who he is. He's not a good play caller. He might be fine throughout the week, but he's not good in situational play calls, and he's shown that. The offensive line doesn't have the ability, and that there is no way that extra work they can put in together is going to all of a sudden make them an asset to this offense.
Well,
but Malik can a little bit in
that's can, right? You're saying can. That the key word is can.
Malik can, but I don't trust that Downing's.
But he's the most important player on the field if he's the quarterback. And if you're saying that the quarterback, which is the most important valued position in team sport, that's the key word of this whole question.
Again, he can improve with work over the next 9 days and another experience opportunity against the Cowboys. He can improve. I just don't think Todd Downing is going to improve. Technically, if I'm using the same logic, Todd Downing can improve too. I just don't believe it's going to happen. The offensive line is what it is, and it sucks. That's the problem. Like, if you go back to the play that Malik got sacked, I think it was the second sack of the game in the second quarter, I want to say, against the first quarter against the Texans, where Chig and Daly did not move. And boom, easy sack around the edge. It's because Corey Levin didn't do his job right. That's what Mike Vrabel said about that play, is that the center, who is a backup, who is a practice squad type of guy, who has been within this organization for a few years on and off, he didn't do his job correct. So then the two guys on the left screwed up, which then got your quarterback sacked immediately, had zero chance to do anything. So it all starts with the offensive line, and I just don't think that they're going to be anywhere good enough to allow Malik Willis to make plays.
I think it will be extremely difficult. But, Austin, if there's one team in the NFL that can get the most out of what they have, wouldn't you say it's the Tennessee Titans? Like, listen to that statement. If there's one team in the NFL that can get the most out of actually what they have, which is less, it would be a Mike Vrabel-led Tennessee Titans game in a one-game scenario against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who you ran 100 yards on in the first quarter. You still have Derrick Henry. Look, I actually take a different approach in Week 18 if, in fact, you were dealing with the same offensive line, Todd Downing and Malik Willis. I throw the offensive playbook out, and you've got to run Derrick Henry, but you now have to put Malik Willis into – I mean, you got nothing to lose, right? I mean, the one thing that you'd have to lose is risk of like extreme injury, but that's a risk every single time you walk out on the field.
But that's been more of a reality than a risk.
Yeah, well, yeah, but and that's fair, but you got one game scenario. I think you run a completely different offense that utilizes Malik Willis's legs and makes defenders make some unorthodox decisions, because we know, Austin, that if Malik Willis gets an open field and open space, he can outrun guys. He can score. And that's at this point in time, at this juncture in his career, that's kind of all you have. He's not going to spin it like Manning and Brady. So you've got to kind of play him like a little bit like the Ravens play Lamar Jackson. That, I think, is going to have to be the approach if you're in a one-game scenario. That's why I say it can. Probability is no, they won't. But you got Derrick Henry and probably a healthier defense at that point in time, which is fair.
Yeah, the best thing the Titans have going for them is they have 12 days, including today, before game day. That means everything, right? The Jags game does mean everything. This Cowboys game literally means nothing. But, then we'll talk about this throughout the week of what we're going to be doing with the Cowboys Thursday night game. And, what does this mean for either team? How much do you have to, see the ball go through the hoop to feel better about the next shot, even if there was a foul called and that ball going through the hoop didn't put any points on the scoreboard? Like, there's this whole thing of the psyche of what this game means. So, you asked me, if there's one team in the NFL that I believe that could do this, it would be the Titans. I believe in Mike Vrabel. I believe that Mike Vrabel is probably not left that facility since he got back after Christmas Day. I think Mike Vrabel went home on Christmas Day. I think he hung out with his wife and his kids who were home, wherever they're doing. I believe he spent that day, Sunday, at home. And I think he got to the facility and he hasn't left yet. And I don't think he's going to leave until they have to board the plane to go to Jacksonville. Like, I think Mike Vrabel will do everything he can. But again, the coach.
And what he's asking in that first clip, join me.
Do you want to play it again?
Yes.
Let's
I
play
love
it
this
again.
clip. It's my favorite clip of all time of
All right,
Mike
we'll play it
Vrabel in the
again.
history of Mike Vrabel.
This is Mike Vrabel Saturday after the game when Jim Wyatt of the TennesseeTitans.com asked Vrabel, is this 5-game losing streak the hardest point that he's had as his head coaching career?
I mean, I think that that's part of the job. I think that's part of this obligation to the football team is to try to be as honest as you can with them. Try to recognize the difference between, a guy making a mistake. You hear, man, I hate losing. I hate losing too. So maybe we should love preparing and love focusing before the game and doing as much as we possibly can so that we don't make mistakes in critical times or mental errors, things that could be avoided. As far as, it's part of the job. It's rewarding watching guys succeed. That's why I do this and watching them develop and improve. But the losses, certainly hurt.
When you say maybe we should love preparing and doing the things before the game, are you saying that you may not have 100% buy-in?
Well, it's not the buy-in. It's just, how much are we doing outside of the time that we're at the facility? I don't know. Those are questions that, if they just, if you as a professional athlete just work 8 to 4 or 8 to 4:30, and I don't know how much you get out of it. Maybe God gifted you with some really, really cool talents. We just have to, all do a little bit more. And that's with me and preparation, and that's with the coaches and the players, and, just a little bit more of everything.
And so there's Vrabel, and he did follow up yesterday and saying when he was asked that he was not pointing out a specific group of players. He included the coaching staff in teaching and cutting up film and doing a better job of install, all the things, right? He made that an all-encompassing quote when he was able to follow up on it and clarify yesterday. But that was an emotional type of answer. And by the way, hat tip to Ron Davenport. That's a damn follow-up question right there. When you gotta love preparing and focusing and then follow up on that to give us that 8-4 quote from 8-4 quote from Mike Vrabel. And I just don't think the Titans have the guys right now to do this. They
haven't. I've been preaching that all year.
But
they haven't had the talent since we knew that.
Yeah, but they've got like 19 guys on injured reserve right now, and then another 12 guys who missed walk-through practice yesterday with injury. That's just that, Zach.
Well, so this is the concept of Vrabel. It's not the buy-in. The buy-in, it was a great question. I agree with you. It's not the buy-in, it's the action. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Sure.
Talk is
all
cheap. You can sit there, I hate losing too. Well, what are you going to do about it? Like it's the work. Like you have to outwork people sometimes. And maybe that action, and I think Mike Vrabel does, trickles down to say, if I'm willing to do this, why aren't you? And I think he's trying to get his guys, knowing that they're not talented, to say, let's rise above and be more like your head coach. That's the only way that they can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's the only way. And that's what I think he clarified in the next clip is that I'm not sitting here calling anybody out, but if we have a ceiling if you have a ceiling for your talent level and your skill, you now have to override that with your work.
And I think
if you don't, you will fail.
What does this bring full circle? This brings full circle I don't rely on talent, and I don't want to rely on talent from Mike Vrabel, right? Because relying on talent doesn't force the player or the coach to put in that extra work. So, and credit to Mike Vrabel. He says a lot of things to the media because he talks to the media 3 or 4 times a week, but the consistency of not relying on talent that a lot of people, including me, made fun of him for saying back when he said it, but he is at least walking that walk off of what he's saying.
Because he can't, because we figured out talent versus coaching.
Well,
the correct answer was talent.
Well, and like I said, right there, I went back and counted while you were talking. There are 19 Titans players on injured reserve currently. 19. Zach Cunningham came off of it, so at one point he was on there too. But 19 guys currently on IR and 12 dudes who were either not practicing or limited. That's 31 guys that are dealing with injury. And out of, they bring 90 guys to camp. And they think about it, they got 53 guys on the roster right now, plus 16 on the practice squad, plus a 31. I mean, that's just half of this team's training camp roster is hurt. That's insane. Once again, it's insane. And I believe they've played 84 people so far this season, which is getting close.
No one cares.
No one cares. Nobody cares.
No one cares.
But Zach, there's a reason why. Remember in the post-game show, there's a reason why. You brought up, when's the last time a team was 7-3 and then missed the playoffs? And the Baltimore Ravens last year were 8-3, lost 6 in a row, missed the playoffs because Lamar Jackson got hurt. The Titans are following that same exact pattern.
And their quarterback is hurt.
And what else was hurt from the Ravens? Everything. I mean, Marlon Humphreys was out. They had every running back get hurt.
Dobbins was, yeah.
Yeah, everything. Everybody was hurt for the Ravens last year and were the Titans, but the Titans got guys back. The Ravens didn't last year. The Titans, I just don't think they're getting guys back.
And you know what? And I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but the surge of the Bengals prevented the Ravens from making the playoffs last year.
With a second-year quarterback.
And really the surge, the Steelers made the playoff in Big Ben's last year. It was the surge of the Steelers at the end of the year. This year, it's the surge of the Jacksonville Jaguars that are knocking at the door to prevent the Tennessee Titans from making the playoffs if they don't figure something out in the next couple of weeks. I mean, or their season's going to be cashola. I will say this. I think Mike Vrabel knows that he's playing with house money because there's going to be roster turnover after this year with a new general manager. You're going to see a lot of new faces on the Tennessee Titans going into next season, which I think is a good thing. But you got to get the most out of the guys that you have now. Mike Vrabel's a no excuse kind of guy. Work harder. I don't care. I love that about him because I'm very similar to that. I don't care what your excuse is. I don't care how many times something happened. Try it again. Right. And Mike Vrabel's doing all that he can to get the most out of his team. We just don't know if it will be enough.
Yeah. So let's get to the quarterback here. And we're going to have a bigger conversation tomorrow about Malik Willis on the field, but a quick conversation we want to get to here about Malik Willis and comments that he had after that Titans loss to the Texans that didn't sit right with a lot of people. We'll play that video here in a second, but first let me tell you guys about Hughes & Coleman Injury Lawyers. They are the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans, and when you have been injured in a car wreck, that's where you need to go. Hughes & Coleman Injury Lawyers. For a free case consultation, call them at 800-800-4600. They've recovered over $1 billion for their clients over the past 30 years in Tennessee and in Kentucky and have the resources, and will fight the insurance company for all of them for you as well. So Hughes & Coleman Injury Lawyers, again, their phone number 800-800-4600. Call for a free case consultation if you've been injured in a car wreck. Hughes & Coleman Injury Lawyers, principal office in Nashville, Tennessee.
It is eSports powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. The king of sportsbooks, ATOZ Sports, all one word is the promo code. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 for new users. Download the app today in your Apple or Android app store. That's BetMGM.
All right, Zach, we're going to play this video, and it's about Malik Willis's post-game press conferences that did not sit right with a lot of people. So it's a minute 17. Here is a Titans quarterback, Malik Willis, after the Titans lose 19-14 to the Houston Texans Saturday.
I know Malik, I guess, very kind of upbeat personality. I mean, how important is it now maybe to inspire others to keep people from being down, during a 5-game losing streak?
I mean, dude, it's football. I mean, you woke up this morning. I woke up this morning, so I'm just as happy as I would have been if we'd have won. Yeah, it's unfortunate and it sucks that we lost, but I mean, we have an opportunity to wake up tomorrow, learn from it, and get better, and we still have everything we want in front of us. I mean, you could be a Debbie Downer about it. I mean, that's your perspective, but I mean, we're blessed, bro. We still got everything we could want, and we have an opportunity to learn from something. I mean, it might be even better than going out there and doing what we wanted to today.
How comfortable were you once you got out there after having a week to kind of get ready for this after?
I mean, I was fine, regardless of what you see on the stat line. I mean, stat line. If you're looking at the stat line, I mean, you can go worry about your fantasy team, not real life. So, other than that, I felt comfortable out there. I mean, we got some plays going early. Penalties deferred us. I mean, they just knocked us off what we was doing. They knocked us off our rhythm in the second half. Just turnovers. I mean, that's the way the game goes. Whoever doesn't turn the ball over, whoever gets the most completions, whoever gets the most first downs, they win the game. So
that's Malik Willis after the Titans lose 19-14, where his box score read 14-23, 99 yards, 0 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks. He also ran the ball 7 times for 43 yards and a touchdown that at one point gave the Titans a lead. So big deal, small deal, or no deal. Malik's comments there. Big deal, small deal, or no deal. Malik's comments after that game. Zach, I'm going to start. I'm going to say it's a small deal because he said the truth, right? Like they do have what, and you said it earlier in the show, the Titans have what they want still in front of them with a chance to go beat the Jags in 12 days, win the AFC South, and host a playoff game for the 3rd year in a row. That is still on the table. So it is a small deal, but he was set up to talk that way. Like the question from Jim Wyatt, who works for the team, and, Jim Wyatt does a great job. Jim Wyatt worked his ass off to get the team reporting job, but, the nature of it is it's going to be a little more positive on the team website than it is anywhere else, especially on A2Zsports.com or whatever, right? And so the positive question that was tossed to Malik Willis set him up for that answer that was taken without the question set up and went all over the internet where people are attacking Malik Willis for his opinion and his optimism after a bad loss. It's not a no deal because I do think he needs to learn.
Well, they just lost the worst team in the NFL.
Yes.
That needed to be prefaced right
Yes.
before. You said they lost to the Texans, which is correct. The Texans were a 1-win football team and the worst team in the National Football League to date. They were on pace with only 1 win to pick first in the 2023 draft. It was also at home.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans had home field advantage. That should matter in the NFL. And they lost in a key game. If they would have won, things could have changed on the perspective of the rest of the season. So that also needs to be disclosed before this post-game press conference happened. That just occurred.
Yes. And so it's a small deal because it sounds so tone deaf of the situation. I appreciate the ability to bounce back the next day. And he did say, yeah, it sucks. Losing sucks. And they had it in front of them. They had an opportunity to win, and that sucks. But I do think it's a small deal because, look, Malik Willis didn't exactly have a bunch of media asking him questions after his games at Liberty. He wasn't covered that much because of the school. And, this is just more of a wake-up call that in the NFL, and Mike Vrabel said it earlier in the show too. He said yesterday he has to choose his words better. And I think Malik Willis needs to choose his words better in those situations because he has to know what can come from it. And so I don't hate his attitude. I just think he probably should have phrased things a little bit differently in that moment. But I'm going to give him some grace, and I'm not going to hammer him like other people have.
All right, let's go to the chat. Big deal, small deal, or no deal on how Malik Willis handled his post-game press conference after the loss to the 1-win Texans, now 2-win Texans after that game. Big deal from Connor, small deal from Tighten Up, small from David, no deal from Jarrell. Steven says small deal, easy from D-Lo, no deal. I like his attitude from Andre. Mr. Jones says no deal. Big Ten Jeff says no deal. Nate says small deal. John says no deal. Sheila, big deal. Van, small deal. Big deal from Burning Devil. Small deal from Noah. I mean, we're all across the board, which is pretty interesting because Guy says no deal. Williams says small deal. A couple of small deals coming in from Gerald and Rike T. Small deal from Tones. Big deal from Steven. Small deal from Brad. Denise says small deal. No deal from William Young. Scott says small. Derek says big deal. I want my quarterback to go to therapy after losses.
And that's a Ryan Tannehill comment. And then I did see this from a commenter. Valentino says, if Tannehill said it, then I would be slobbering. I don't know if this is directed at me or not, but no, I would not be slobbering if Ryan Tannehill said what Malik Willis said. I think Ryan Tannehill plays press conferences the way the NFL quarterback should. Say nothing. Because I gain nothing.
Ryan Tannehill's a 30-year-old man.
Yeah. And again, he's 34. So I don't take Ryan Tannehill says nothing in press conferences, and that's how he should do it because it's nothing that can be held against him.
This is a case of youth. I think it's small deal right now.
Yeah.
If it continues, it obviously will be a big deal. It's definitely not a no deal because they just lost in a key point. We're all blessed that we woke up this morning. I'm blessed. Austin, you're blessed that we are able to do this show. I don't take that for granted. I appreciate that. But at the same time, you got to be better, man. You got to be better. He at the very end, and we won't play the clip again because it's longer, but he's talking about turnovers. He threw the pick. He didn't see the linebacker. That's on him. That was his fault. Talk a little bit about that, right? So I want more of responsibility and accountability and not just rah, thank the good Lord above for us breathing air. I get it, okay? And you also don't want to turn into, and this is a product of what we've seen this year from Zach Wilson, not taking responsibility and getting his young ass benched early on in his career. Now, his play didn't back things up and he got opportunity and so on and so forth. I don't think that this is one of those cases, but I do give him a little bit of grace for it not to be big deal because of him being young 20s. And this is his first time to do this. And he was probably excited to go play in the NFL for the first time. That should create an emotion, but you're a professional. This is a job. You have things that you are required to do if you want to keep your job. It's cutthroat. NFL stands for not for long. That's why I don't say it's a no deal. I don't say it's a big deal, but it definitely is a small deal that needs to be changed. And I agree with Mike Vrabel. He just got to think about his words. He just hadn't been in that situation. We'll see if he improves. He's going to get a couple more opportunities to close out the season to improve on those post-game press conferences.
And look, I would rather Malik Willis be better on the field than better at the post-game podium. but
the pick, right? You talked about turnovers. That was a huge turnover when he threw that interception.
Yeah, and Balthazar says, dude's just happy to be in the NFL. Better enjoy it because it won't last long. I mean, we don't know how long or how short Malik Willis's career would be, but
it sure does seem that way. I don't actually think that's the case. But the way that he portrays things, it does seem like he's, this is great.
Yeah.
And I want a little bit more grit. I would say that. I want more grit out of Malik Willis at the podium.
So let's think about
on the field. I think he did well.
Yeah, I think Malik Willis, I'm excited. I'm curious and excited to see another episode of the Malik Willis show on Thursday night against the Cowboys, where we'll have pregame, halftime, and postgame shows to react to it, and then reaction Friday morning. So, I do think it's interesting. That was his third start against the Texans. The first time they won, right? So there was no, they won by running for 300 plus yards. They won his first start. Great. There's no real, criticism there. The second start, the next week, they barely lost in overtime at the Chiefs. And there was a lot of good in that game. They were not
a team that they should never.
They were 12.5-point dogs there going into that game, and they took it to OT. So there was no criticism there. This is game 3. The first time the Titans lost with Malik Willis at quarterback in a game that they should have won. So it's also that first example of going through what that meant.
Yes. Lost to a team they should have beaten.
In his first post-game press conference in the NFL, when they lost to a team they were supposed to.
But I think that's what fans want.
Yeah.
Is the feeling of we lost to a team we should have beaten.
Yeah, for sure.
That's on me. That's on this team. We have to do better. That's unacceptable.
And again, I do have to remember and remind people that, Jim Wyatt asked the question to set up the positive answer. So he was answering a question. This was not what Malik Willis said coming out of the gates in his opening statement at his press conference. He was asked this question and he answered it. So that has to be, yes.
It's just, if I were to be asked that same question by Jim Wyatt, my answer would not be anything close to what Malik Willis said.
Well, he could have said everything of losing sucks, but we can still go out there and win the AFC South and do what we came here to do. You can do that. That's the answer of how do you keep the guys positive after this 5 losses in a row? It's we can still go win the AFC South. Yeah. We can still earn ourselves a home playoff game. That's how. And boom.
But I think the line that was the most telling was I'd be the same way after a win, right? Wrong.
Just, don't use that, take that out of your arsenal when it comes to.
Choose your words a little bit wiser.
Yes, for sure. All right. It is eSports here live on this Tuesday. We were off yesterday on a Monday for Christmas. I hope everybody had a great Christmas, but let's wrap up this Tuesday show with a round of 5 trivia questions. Zach, but first tell us about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your new ride. We had one of our listeners have a problem with his Santa Fe. They reached out, boom, Wilson County Hyundai got it fixed in a lot lesser time than some of the other dealers. I mean, that's just one example of Wilson County Hyundai coming to the aid of A to Z Sports followers and listeners to our company and our program. That's great. I mean, that's value. That is a true story. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you're in the need for a new car in 2023, they got you hooked up and they got great prices at WilsonCountyHyundai.com, whether it's the Palisade full-size SUV with 3rd row seating, the Sonata, which is a 4-door sedan. They've got the Elantra, the Santa Fe, like I mentioned, or the Tucson. They also have the Ioniq, which is battery powered. All of their fuel-driven vehicles are fuel efficient, and that's key, so you can get the most out of it. WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Download the BetMGM app. When you do, plug in our code ATOZ Sports. You make your first deposit, and then boom, right there, risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football. It's also super easy that once you win a bunch of money from BetMGM, you can withdraw it, put it right back in your bank account. I kind of gave myself a little Christmas bonus, Zach. I had a great last month or so, so I gave myself a little bit of my BetMGM winnings over the weekend, and it popped up in my account on the first business day. So super easy to withdraw your winnings with BetMGM as well. So use our code ATOZ Sports. You get a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000 when you use our code ATOZ Sports. It is time officially for Tuesday Sports Trivia. All right, Zach, we got 5 questions, 4 sports and 1 non-sports. We're doing, these 5 at a time. And so we're 70%. We're 21 out of 30. So we need to bounce back. Yesterday or last week was not a good showing by us. I believe we went 3-2. So we need at least a 4-1 type of day. So let's get this thing rolling.
In the sport of bocce, what is the name of the small target ball? In the sport of bocce, what is the name of the small target ball? This is not multiple choice, so we need some bocce players. What is the name of the small target ball in bocce? Surely somebody in the chat has played bocce ball and knows what that thing is called.
I don't think I've played bocce ball since spring break 2010.
I have played it maybe 5 years ago. I'm at like a bar.
Is it just the bocce ball? That's kind of what I always assumed.
I thought the bocce balls are the actual bigger bocce balls. I got to choose my words wisely here.
Yeah, Leo says D's.
Yeah. Oh, D's. Final answer.
Yeah. I thought it was just Orlando says the bowler.
Any bocce ball players?
Jeff says the Polino, lock it in. Darren says Polino, lock it in.
Ooh, see, we knew we would have some people.
Yeah, and Jeff says he played it in school. By the way, no Googling. That's our one rule that we've got for trivia. No Googling. So do we go with the Polino with Jeff? And Noah says he still plays in a league. Okay, let's go with the Polino final A to Z.
Bocce or bocce ball is played with 8 large balls and 1 small target ball called the Polino.
All right.
Object of the game is to roll one of the large balls as close to the Polino as possible. So
I want to know.
there you go. Off to a good start. Let's see. What? Actually, I'm not going to go that route. Let's go with, because I think I know it.
Yeah.
At the start, let's just go back to a few years ago. At the start of the 1955-56 NBA season, there were a total of 8 teams in the league, which lasted until 1961-62, in which one of those expansion teams was added to the league. What was the name of the team that year? Was it the Chicago Stags, the Chicago Packers, the Chicago Zephyrs, or Anderson Duffy Packers? 1955 NBA season, total of 8 teams in the league. That lasted to 61-62, and one expansion team was added to the league. Was it the Chicago Stags, the Chicago Packers, the Chicago Zephyrs, or the Anderson Duffy Packers?
The Stags, right? Because that's kind of like in somewhat of the Bull family.
There's 2 of them that are Packers, though. And the Zephyrs.
Well, Jarrell says the Zephyrs were a real team.
Yes, the Zephyrs were a real team because that name sounds familiar.
Because, it was the Chicago Packers. Because MB says Chicago Packers, lock it in. But it wasn't. What was the Packers name? It was a different name. The Anderson something?
The Anderson Duffy Packers.
Orlando says the Duffy Packers. MB says Packers. Trust me.
So is it the Anderson Duffy Packers or the Chicago Packers?
Let's go the Anderson Duffy Packers. Final A to Z. Yeah, we're rolling with MB.
Chicago had been added to the league as an expansion franchise in 1961, and the Chicago Packers center Walt Bellamy won Rookie of the Year honors. The Chicago Stags were in the NBA for the first 4 seasons, advancing to the NBA Finals in the first year, but the correct answer is the Chicago Packers.
So we were right?
You said the Duffy Packers, right?
I thought that was so there were 2 Packers?
Yes.
Oh, God. I didn't even know that. I got confused.
Yeah, it was the Chicago Stags, the Chicago Packers, the Chicago Zephyrs, or the Anderson Duffy Packers. And you finaled A to Z to Anderson Duffy Packers.
I thought I missed because MB said Chicago Packers, lock it in. What do we do here? Because that's a me error.
That's it. You locked it in.
Oh no.
Next question. Guys. 1-1.
Oh.
Which team did Brian Shaw never play for in the first 13 seasons of his career? The Golden State Warriors, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trailblazers, or the Boston Celtics? Which team did Brian Shaw never play for in his first 13 seasons of his career? I can see Brian Shaw's face, so I know what he looks like. Now I just got to put a jersey on him. So this is what team he never played for: the Warriors, the Jazz, the Blazers, or the Celtics?
He definitely played for the Jazz.
Yes.
In his first 13 years. So maybe Mr. Jones says Blazers. Juan says Blazers. He did not play for the Blazers.
I cannot see Brian Shaw in a Blazers uniform.
Yeah,
He played for the Celtics.
I don't know. The Celtics doesn't pop into my head either. I mean, I think Blazers makes a lot of sense. I remember the Jazz, I think, the most.
The Jazz.
But that was his first 13 years. So would I remember the Jazz because it might have been after his first 13 years?
I don't remember Brian Shaw in a Jazz uniform. He played for the Celtics, and I'm pretty positive he played for the Warriors.
Yeah. The Warriors, I feel like, was
The Jazz.
So what
is
team
the chat? So it's between the Jazz and the Blazers, it sounds like.
Jarrell says he's thinking Jazz, but he doesn't know. Titans Cal says not the Jazz. Here's the hard thing. Like, did he not play for the Jazz, or is the Jazz the correct answer? Like,
which team did Brian Shaw never play for in his first 13 seasons of his career?
But his first 13 seasons. That's what's throwing me off. All right, so let's go Jazz. Because Titans Cal says he played for the Blazers 100%. Let's go with the Jazz. Final A to Z. We're going final A to Z.
So you're recouping.
Yeah, I'm recouping that. I can be wrong. So Jazz final A to Z.
Brian Shaw also played for the Sixers, the Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat, on top of the Warriors, the Celtics, and the Blazers.
Okay.
He never played for the Utah Jazz.
All right, so I was wrong from the very beginning. Man, at least I didn't burn.
This is a tough one. This is a tough go for you.
Yeah, right. Well, we're 2-1. So, last sports question.
We go to boxing. No multiple choice. What in boxing was once the absolute lowest weight category? What in boxing was once the absolute lowest weight category? There is flyweight. I do know that because I watch boxing, but was once.
Welter, feather.
Fly is lower than feather, I believe.
The chat's saying featherweight. Is there a super feather? Valentino says super feather. Because once was.
What's flyweight? So you're saying flyweight is above.
Well, no, but it's flyweight a newer category? That's where I'm confused.
No, flyweight I feel like is older than featherweight.
So the question's phrase is once the lightest.
Yeah. So what in boxing was once the absolute lowest weight category?
So it sounds like it's not anymore, right? Once, so then, meaning not currently the lowest. Danny says featherweight smaller than fly, but then we've got the opposite of that. Super featherweight?
I mean, that sounds very light.
Flyweight, featherweight.
Featherweight sounds, I think featherweight is newer, but featherweight sounds less weight than fly.
Yeah, I just the once was thing is throwing me.
What do we want to go with?
I think you can be the tiebreaker on this because you know way more about boxing than I do.
Super flyweight?
But it sounds like supers or
Yeah.
newer?
Super. Yeah. I think let's just go with flyweight.
Okay.
Final A to Z.
Flyweight.
Used by Ring Magazine is under 105 pounds. It is known as the strawweight division. The next class is bantamweight division.
There were some people that said strawweight.
The WBO and IBF introduced the atom weight in 2007, which is 102.
What?
Atom weight. So if you ever play trivia, atom weight is the current lowest weight category.
That's a tough question because was once like, I don't know when was I don't know. Was flyweight at once the lowest? I guess not. So
All
2
right.
and 2, not great.
We go with the non-sports question. What is Taylor Swift's middle name? Elizabeth, Renee, Sue, or Allison? Damn, this is a good question.
I think it's Elizabeth.
What is Taylor Swift's middle name?
I think it's
Elizabeth, Renee, Sue, or Allison? Taylor Sue Swift? No way. Renee, Taylor Elizabeth. Taylor Elizabeth does sound the best.
I think that's it. I think it's Elizabeth. Jeff says Allison, lock it in. Why?
Ooh.
Why lock it in, Jeff?
She does look like an Elizabeth, whatever that means. It's not Sue. Oh, Taylor Sue.
I want to know, like Seth and Jeff are like, it's totally Allison. How do you know?
That was quick too.
Like, yeah, I want to know why. Noah says Allison. We're getting a lot of Allison.
Noah dated a Swiftie.
So
this is stuff that gets brought up if you date a Swiftie. I've never actually. I don't think I've ever talked to a Swiftie.
All right. I'm sure you have. You live in Nashville and you have your entire life. You absolutely.
Yeah, but like gotten to the level of
you've never gotten into
Swiftie?
a conversation about
you are labeling yourself as a Swiftie.
All right, so let's go Allison. We're going Allison with the chat here. Final A to Z, Taylor, Allison, Swift.
Taylor was named after her aunt.
Auntie A.
Auntie Allison.
All right.
3 and 2. God, it's not good enough.
No, it's not. It makes us 24 out of 35. Which drops us to 68.5%. We're getting into a bad free throw percentage right now. We got to be at least good free throw shooters.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, that'll wrap it up for us on this Tuesday. Don't forget, we've got a great content rolling forward. Titans back on the practice field and have locker room availability today. Sam Phelan will be there with all the coverage and have that coverage up on our YouTube channel. Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Prime Time. So get ready for that at 8 o'clock Central Time tonight. And we will be back tomorrow morning on a Wednesday with bigger conversations about Malik Willis and potential of draft jockeying as well. So we'll talk about that later on. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. Talk to you soon.